Hey, it's Allan Ferguson. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Pipeline to Profitability, the podcast for home service professionals. And this podcast is proudly sponsored by Service Success Academy. Now, today, I want to reflect on the last 10 years and the 100 or so episodes of this podcast. And originally this started out as a bit of fun back when nowhere near as many professionals were doing podcasts around 2013. I thought, what a fantastic way to share some of the knowledge that I've learned over the years with my fellow contractors. So the Pipeline to Profitability podcast was born. And at that time, I was operating one of Australia's largest and most successful home service companies. And, my wisdom, experience that I've picked up over the years has come from my fellow colleagues. And it's not just the amazing companies I've had the opportunity to work with in the US, it's some of the hardworking companies that I've had the honor to work with as well as coach within Australia. So today, no guest, okay? What I decided to do was to share what I've learned, not just in the last 20 years being in the home service industry, but also some of the lessons I've learned in the last 2 years in particular, living in Houston, Texas, and getting to spend time with some of the most proactive, successful contractors from the home service industry, primarily plumbing and air conditioning, and just some of the things that I've learned. And I want to pass on some of the wisdom to you today. So I recommend grab a notepad, take some notes. There's going to be something here that I'm going to share that will help you improve the profitability of your home service company. And now, if you're not from the home service industry, you might be from a commercial background. There's no reason why you can't add a successful home service operation to your biz, and I highly recommend it. As I also recommend anyone that is in the heating and cooling space, maybe electrical, what's stopping you from adding plumbing and trenchless drain repairs? Okay, so I'm going to touch on that. So because last week's podcast was with Matt Michelle, episode 100, I thought today, why not give away 101 bits of wisdom, information, and maybe I will, but I'm going to keep focused in probably 5 key areas today. And as I've said, it's some of the lessons I've learned in the last couple of years. And so where I would like to start, I want to go back to the most recent podcast I did with Matt Michelle, the founder of Service Roundtable, Service Nation, Service World, and most contractors within the industry, not just in the US and Australia, know the power of Service World, which, as far as I know, it's still the largest show for the home service industry. There could be a few others knocking on that door now, but look, when I actually decide to get on a flight from, say, Sydney and head to the US for a trade show, I do it so that I not just get to spend time with some of my fellow contractors, but learn what's some of the new innovation that's going on within the industry, and what can I actually take and bring back and implement to improve the profitability of my companies. So this last episode with Matt, we touched on pricing, and I feel that pricing for profit is an area that, I said to Matt, I believe that probably better than 90% of the companies within the home service industry are not priced correctly. And Matt's words to me were, it's probably higher than that. Now, that's sad, because it doesn't need to be that way. And one of the things that I've done within Australia is to learn the concepts of flat rate pricing and bring that knowledge down under. And, we had, I think at one point, probably over 1,000 users of our flat rate pricing system, individual users. That was through about 140 companies in Australia that said, Allan, what's this, what's the flat rate pricing concept that you've got? And we were an advocate of book price books. We never actually ventured into digital, and there is some very good companies out there that are using digital price books now. And is digital price books better than actually having a price book in your hand? I'm guessing there is some advantages. We had great success with the price book. And also, one of the things we never quite evolved into digital price presentation or invoicing. So we stuck with the books. It served us well, and we got good results from that. Now, some of the trainers in the industries that I've worked with claim that there is no proof that a digital price presentation or price book is better than a physical book. I can't really comment on that. But one thing I know, and this has come up, I've done a podcast with the one and only Billy Stevens, the founder of Berkey's Billy Go, and his very successful software product being Sira. And one thing I learned is that margin pricing, I believe, is a probably a more efficient way to price your services. Now, we started playing around with margin pricing. It was probably around 2009, and we were using a flat rate pricing. Now, with a flat rate pricing concept, you have to have a pretty good idea of where your efficiencies are. And it's all about your efficiencies, meaning you pay a service technician for 40 hours a week and he builds 20. Now, most companies, I think the industry average, and this is within a conversation with Billy Stevens, is that the industry average is below 40%. So that means you have to price your services for your inefficiencies, okay? And you can either be charging the customer more than you should be, or you can be doing yourself an injustice by not charging as much as you should. Now, with a margin price, it has proven to be more accurate. If you were to, let's say, and this is how construction businesses price on how many fucking hours is it going to take to do the job. And you might look at a bigger project and say, well, I know that if I put two plumbers or two electricians, HVAC techs on this job for a week, that sounds like about 80 hours. We're going to allow for a few things that might go wrong. We're going to margin price it and not flat rate price it. Then we know our gross margin. Let's say you've got a gross margin goal of, say, 50%, meaning if you buy your cost of goods for $1,000, it's really simple. You charge it out at $2,000, you get your 50% gross margin. If your technicians' costs, including their on costs, is, say, $80 an hour, that doesn't make it for most companies. I found that even 10 years ago that it was most companies, plumbing, electrical, the cost was above that. It was probably closer to between 90 and $100. Let's say it is $100 and you want to achieve a 50% gross margin. Well, as long as you actually bill the correct number of hours, if you know if you're paying for 8 hours and you need to bill for 8 hours, as long as you've got your efficiencies right, and you know that technician's actual cost is 100, meaning you would then charge to make a 50% gross profit, you would charge that technician at 200 an hour. Now, 50% gross margin might not be enough for you if you're spending any amount of money on advertising. You will probably find that it's a 55 or a 60% gross margin might be what you need to charge if you are aiming for a profit, a net profit above 15%. Now, working with, there's very few companies that I work with have got their net profit north of 20%, but I do know companies that are actually well above that, 30% plus, because they are extremely efficient and they've got their costs under control. They're not overspending on marketing. They've got their direct labor where it needs to be. They've got their indirect labor. Everything fits into the right place for them to achieve that high profitability. So, but as far as pricing goes, if 90% or more are not priced right, that means you're actually subsidizing your services to your customers, and that's not a very good thing, is it? Really? So pricing is so important, and if anyone hasn't worked it out yet, that is probably the number one area that can make or break you. Because at the end of the day, I'll take this argument with anyone. The customer pays for everything. It can't be any other way. But they shouldn't be paying for your inefficiencies. They shouldn't be paying for anything that's not fair and reasonable. And that's how I would prefer to for you to run your business. I do know the companies that do know their efficiencies and they are actually running efficiently, not overspending on marketing, and actually using the right marketing messages, a strong communication with existing customers, can keep their marketing relatively low. They've got an efficient operating system, one that, like Sira, that really takes care of most of the touch points with the customer and also allows you to run efficient within your indirect labor, which is your office, your office staff, your CSRs, your dispatchers, can run very profitably and not have to be the most expensive company in your market. So, but yeah, so pricing is one of those areas that if you need some help in there, I know there's plenty of good resources out there. Anyone that reaches out to me, I'm happy to share the pricing calculators that we've created and the ones that we've been using now for the last 20 years. So I did say that I wasn't going to do 101 topics, but I'm gonna touch on a few areas that will be very important for you. If you fall within the 10% or less that's actually priced right, we might now talk about one of my favorite subjects. And I'm probably not going to have enough time to dig too deep here, but something that I've as a visionary leader, I always use the term "what is possible." Okay, now if you want to know what's possible in our industry, just have a look at what's fucking going on in the US in regards to private equity. Massive multiples, north of 20. I believe that's, for the well-run companies where the owner has become semi-redundant in the business and they're running strong net profits north of 15%. and have got a very strong database of existing customers with lots of healthy membership customers in place, as I said, well run, are going to get extremely high multiples. And whether you're building your business to sell or not, it doesn't much matter. I believe that you should be, even if you enjoy it that much, you want to stick around. I believe that the business should be structured to sell, and even if you decide to keep it, why not actually set it up right so that if someone was to come and offer you a $500 million offer like one of our fellow colleagues has achieved in the last few years at 21 multiple, and still be able to retain some form of ownership and control of that company, wouldn't you want to take that opportunity? So when I talk about, and that's one of the things I'm going to double back on, is what what is actually happening in the industry as far as private equity consolidation, and we're probably not going to have enough time to go too deep there. But when I use the term "what is possible," I'm referring to a recent training we did with our $1 Million Drainer platform. And the training wasn't actually taken by me. It was run by Chris, who is one of our trainers. And we did an exercise, and this was utilizing virtual call management. You may have heard of call by call, virtual ride-alongs. If you haven't, it's a very exciting time for you, I feel, because there is so much opportunity that lies ahead, and it does fit into what is possible, in my opinion. Chris did an exercise where we used a virtual call management process on a discounted drain clear. Now that's an area where I will spend a little bit of time when we get to a section that I call optimized opportunity, where I'm going to cover specials, memberships, and warranty, which is some of the greatest opportunities for plumbing businesses in the industry. But what is possible scenario was a typical service call, and I work with a lot of companies, not just in the US, majority are there, but also in Australia, that say, well, Allan, we've run a discounted drain clear, but 7 out of 10 is discounted. Whether it's a 99 or a 129, whatever you decide to price. I never ever tell anyone how much they should charge. That just wouldn't be right. You have to decide the price point for your special, and a special is nothing more than it's a marketing exercise, period. But you do need to know the cost of that special, and it's got a little bit of the nickname is a discounted drain clear, or a loss leader, or whatever you want to fucking call it, and you need to know what that is actually costing you so that you can actually recover the loss that you make on the loss leader. It's marketing. So if you fit that loss into your marketing budget, and you can keep your marketing as low as possible, you'll win. Okay. So the scenario was a call that was basically just a $99 drain special. Now, what Chris actually did was used the virtual call management process, or call by call, and we learned how powerful call by call management was around 2013, when my good friend Joe Cunningham came down under for the first time, first of many, and taught us how to structure our business for call by call management. I call it virtual call, because we've adapted it somewhat more for plumbing and drain calls, and I wouldn't say we've perfected it, but it's pretty damn fucking close. And so Chris used the scenario of how we can use a virtual call process to turn a call round from a 99 to a desired result, a desired outcome. Now, what is a desired outcome? Now, that depends. If you have the full trenchless no dig capability that we had, a desired outcome could be anywhere from $5,000 to $100,000. And yes, we did considerable amount of jobs that were in the from the 20 to $100,000 mark, because we come across properties that really did need our services, and when it comes to no dig solutions. So the what is possible scenario is Chris actually showed what would that call like, that you'd normally, the technician would call in and say, oh, no, there's no problem. They didn't need the inspection, the full home inspection. I managed to plunge it. I'm in and out of there in 15 minutes. I've made you a fair bit of money because you've charged 99 and you've only paid me, let's say for 15 minutes, maybe 20 bucks, whatever that cost is. And so we turned that call, well, Chris turned that call on its head by actually laying out what that call would look like if a senior service advisor or a call by call, a virtual call manager intercepted that call and staged that call out. So we actually showed we use a product called Slack, which is an amazing communication tool. Everyone that I work with, I tell them that Slack is the future of communication. It can be integrated to your CRMs and your dispatching products. You don't need to, but it can. How we use the process with someone who's got experience in better communication skills and is able to take that technician and the client through a journey. We showed how we would get that call to be a $20,000 plus call. And it is fucking a lot easier than you think. Just picture this. If one of the things I talk about is knowing your numbers. What numbers do you need to know? And if you know what your conversion rates are on your calls, if you are running a loss leader, how quickly can you turn the loss into a break-even profit situation, and how quickly can you turn that call, how consistently can you turn that call into the correct margin for your business? And you might have, for us, we had quite good average tickets for drains. It was north of $2,000 most of the time. Obviously, there's periods where it would, we'd get months where it would come just under, but primarily above $2,000, although we had some big tickets like I've explained. And so what would your business look like if you were only able to convert 30% of your specials and were able to flip that, where you're now converting 70% with the addition of a call-by-call virtual call manager? So I want you to think about that. And without going too far into the whole virtual call management process, and by the way, anyone that's been following me and my podcast for any amount of time knows that some of the podcasts are specifically focused on pricing. With Matt and Michelle, I cover pricing on quite a lot of the episodes. I haven't actually done a podcast on what is possible, and maybe that's I might let Chris settle into his new house on the Sunshine Coast, and we might do a podcast and talk about that scenario of what impossible. But if anyone that wants to get access to that training, which was within our private group, I'm happy to share it. You need to reach out to me directly and I'll get you a copy of that training. It's a fucking game changer. So moving on to virtual call management. Now, we found with, we've been doing virtual call within my own service companies since around 2013, and nowhere near the level that we actually are using now and training companies now. And the game changer to me is using the Slack channel and having the SOPs, the checklists all built in, having the ability to get the photos into the Slack channel, the communication, and just having someone there to assist the service technician with his communication to the customer, and with not overstepping the runway as far as presenting too much too soon. You know, the profitability of your business will come down to the ability to build a relationship and trust with your customers and not move the price. You don't deserve to present the price to the customer any more than that level of trust and relationship that you've got. So that's something that I'm a massive advocate in, is making sure that that relationship is built and then present a price accordingly. So this is why the virtual call management system, the one that we teach, with phenomenal results, by the way, if I don't mind saying so, and not because I don't do all the training within our training organization. It's Chris and Sid take on, you know, with the systems and the processes, but using Slack with our virtual call management training is an absolute game changer as far as adding that extra level of accountability to your processes. Okay, so moving on to what is happening in the industry. And I did say at the beginning of this podcast that I would touch on some of the cool things that are going on. Now, if you're based in the US, and you know, I'm working with some of the best contractors in the US via my good friends at Service Roundtable. And you know, I've been, since around 2006 to 18 years now, I've been working with some of the larger best practice groups within the US, and there's really nothing of anywhere near the same caliber in Australia, except we actually did bring Service Nation and Service Roundtable to Australia, and that did change the industry, especially in Sydney where we were based. It did actually raise the level of professionalism in Australia. And I just want to say, I often look up to you know, a lot of the companies that I work with, and I do tend, in the US, I do tend to work with the top companies, let's say the top 1%. And you know, I've observed that my American friends have a level of service which is definitely at a higher level than the majority of contractors in Australia. Not saying that the contractors that I work with are doing a bad job. It's just that in the US, there seems to be that added level of professionalism, communication with the customers. And that's something that I want to, anyone that's running a service company in Australia, probably the best way to improve your business is to really focus in on your service, your communication, not just with your customers, but also with your clients, which are your customers, right? Yeah, improving that level of communication. So my American friends do, they really do, the level of service is phenomenal. But because I've been blessed to have worked with the best of the best in the US and now, and also in Australia, the Australians tend to be operationally very, very strong. And when I say operationally, not as much in the heating and cooling space, HVAC, because you understand, we are quite a few years behind with that technology and when it comes to heating and cooling. But I feel that in plumbing and drains especially, I feel that the majority of Australian companies, especially in Sydney, have led the way for some time with the use of water jetters and trenchless, and probably because the leaders in Australia have actually learnt from the best practices from the companies in the US plus Europe is very, very, very advanced when it comes to technology with drains, the way we clear drains, the way we repair drains without digging, and I feel that's where I feel I add a lot of value to the companies I work with within the US, is to transfer that level of knowledge from Australian companies with the companies I work with in the US. But now building your business to sell, I touched on this, whether you want to sell it or not. You still need to structure it to build to sell. There's amazing money getting around in the US, private equity, and I'm only guessing. I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm guessing that more than 50% of home service, plumbing, electrical, air conditioning companies in the US are now being either owned or managed by private equity and larger companies. Australia is a bit behind, actually a lot behind. Don't want to sugarcoat that, but that private equity, the money, the multiples are nowhere near as or nowhere near as close in Australia as they are in the US, and there's a big difference there. I predict that will change. I feel that there is a few groups, associations, I happen to know who they are, that want a piece of Australia. And let's say there is some great opportunity in Australia for companies that want to actually build massive value into their companies by building them profitably. And, I think you're going to get, I believe, actually, yeah, I actually know that the companies that are partnered with a reputable platform, one that can consolidate and get all your processes aligned with the top companies, the top 1%, or whatever that percentage looks like, will actually get a way higher multiple on exit. Okay. And as I said, whether you decide to sell it or not, you want to maybe consider building your business for the maximum. So that private equity, that partnership, best practice is coming to Australia. I plan to be a part of that, but I don't want to talk too much about that now, but it's coming. And anyone in Australia that is interested in maximizing the value of their company, please reach out. But as I said, I've done podcasts on that. If you go through some of the most recent episodes, you'll find some great, valuable information there. So I'm probably have gone a little bit long, but I just want to spend a couple more minutes on training that we did this week. And it was based on optimized opportunity. For those that are part of the $1 Million Drainer, with optimized opportunity, I include specials, marketing, and I've touched on that. Membership, so friggin' powerful. And any of the 4 episodes, including workshops that I've done with Billy Stevens, we've touched on memberships. And the other area of massive opportunity is warranty. Now, warranty has never been a dirty word. Well, maybe some years back. And yesterday in training, I talked about why warranty can be so powerful for your plumbing and drain business. And I want you to think about this now. Something else that we've done within the $1 Million Drainer is to help every company that works with us to have an understanding of what's the lifetime value of your customer. Okay, what is a customer worth to you? And you can look at I don't know of any home on the within America and Australia that doesn't have a friggin' drain. So if you're not doing drains, I'm going, shit, like the opportunity is massive. The other thing, and this is not me uh trying to sell you on drains, but why the fuck are you doing drains? Like really, no, sorry, I need to behave myself. Why is having a plumbing business that does trenchless drain repairs so important? Because of the margins are way, way, way above most other areas in the service industry. And I'm referring to garage doors, plumbing, electrical, heating, cooling, water heaters, but drains has an extremely high margin, and the level of technical experience is probably look. Most plumbers are going to say, "Oh, well, we have all we've done X amount of years of college," and it's really as a plumber myself, I'm talking on my view, but it's really not that fucking hard to learn. Okay. Now, if you're based in the US, my man Joe Cunningham has amazing schools where he can take a kid fresh out of school, college, with zero skills and bring him up to a journeyman level. What level um, the level that he can get them to is determined by how much training they do. But 10 days is enough to get someone with zero skills in plumbing or air conditioning to a journeyman level. But like I said, I can't determine what level they're at, but that's something you can probably connect with Joe. If you want his contact details, I'll put those details into the show notes. But yeah, it's really, and then to learn how to clear a drain, best way to learn is to get with a drain clearing company, and just spend some time out in the field learning the different types of equipment used to clear a drain, learning how to use a drain camera, learning all the different types of no-dig trenchless repair systems. And but the margins, the amount of money you can make is absolutely mammoth. It's and I've seen this with many companies that have actually doing it well. So with optimized opportunity, as I said, I'm running out of time to actually talk too much about specials, but I think you understand loss leaders. You've got to be really clear with your offer. I recommend running an offer with not giving away too much of equipment, because you always got to have either a water jetter or a flex shaft type machine that you can upsell to. So your special might include plungers, it might include a router machine. It's going to be time limited, 20 minutes to 30 minutes. It's going to be for accessible outside cleanouts, and you might limit the area that you go to, understanding that you might price that at 129. The regular cost for that, and that would be for the first 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes. The regular cost of that might be double that. So you are losing money. So obviously you need to make that up when you move from first 30 minutes to the second 30 minutes to the third 30 minutes. And if you have a process, you can actually move that along and actually recover your loss, put yourself into the profit zone, usually within 90 minutes, with the opportunity to resolve the customer's issues permanently. I mean, that's where we make money, not by cleaning the roots or the grease or whatever, the block and the drain, but actually fixing the problem permanently. That's where the money is. Memberships, I recommend that every company has a membership. I'm not talking about service agreements. I'm just talking about memberships that give the customer a special service. It might be a 15% discount, which I recommend. It could be go to the head of the queue. It might be specials. You might give away a 30-minute camera inspection. There might be things that you give away with the memberships. But when move to the most important part of optimized opportunity is warranty. Whatever warranty you give is designed for one thing and one thing only, is to get you back in front of the customer if you're unable to close the sale and make the sale for the permanent repair. Don't forget, everything you do, your special, all of your services that you have is to actually get to repair the drain, because no one wants to leave their drain blocking up again, because who knows when it's going to block. So your warranties, however you want to structure them, and I've got many ideas that I share with all the members, all the companies that I work with, is to get you back in front of that customer for a second opportunity to actually make the sale. So I'm thinking that's probably where I'm going to end it today. I've covered off pricing, what is possible, so the ability to magically turn a $97 call into a $2,000, $10,000, $20,000 call. I've touched on virtual call management, or call by call, extremely powerful. Those that are actually utilizing it now are really killing it in the industry. Their top sales guys now are actually don't need to be on every call. Building your business to sell private equity, what's going to happen in Australia? And then one of my favorite subjects, optimized opportunity. So I want to thank you for joining me. And just as well, I didn't bring a guest in because I wouldn't have got too many words in, right? But I've got some really, really good guests lined up for future episodes. And I want to thank you for joining me. And if you feel the need to reach out to me, I'll give you my contact details. Hit me up. If I can help you in any way, I'd absolutely be honored to do so. And I just want to conclude with DFTC. Okay, you're going, what the hell is DFTC? It's basically don't fuck the call. Okay, you want to make sure that every call you run is run professionally, and make sure that your first responders to a call don't say anything to the customer that's going to stop you from winning that job, winning the sale. So DFTC, I want to conclude it at that. Thank you for your time, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Pipeline to Profitability. I'm Allan Ferguson, and thank you very much for joining me. Cheers.